Hi. So yesterday I tweeted and said that I would start to make some materials for people who are using Novel Approach as a way to structure your units, to do some thinking about how we can make that in a distance learning scenario, a distance learning event, to make it more distance learning-y. I hope that this video finds all of you okay and holding close to the people you love and trying to look for the good inside of all of this mess. I know we are. It's a lot of mess happening here at the Roberts household, but we're finding beauty too. And that's all we're going to have to do for as long as we need to. I can't tell you how moved I am by the educators that I'm working with and how much we're trying to show up for kids. And we've got this. The thing is, this is going to be super messy and not great sometimes, and certainly mediocre at times. But any of you who know me, who've worked with me, know that I am a great believer in the mediocre, and that I think that consistent mediocre work that's going in the right direction is actually freaking amazing. So let's start. Here's what I'm thinking. When we think about a novel approach and the kind of work I'm suggesting, particularly in middle and high schools who are transforming your whole class novels into a more hybrid version of Reader's Workshop, a lot stays the same. And so I want to go over what's going to be completely consistent first. First, we're still going to have a skills focus, right? So in fact, I think this is a place where distance learning is going to lend itself to this structure, because choosing one skill, two skills to focus on is going to help for clarity between you and your students. What might be different is that in a distance learning scenario, you might be choosing a skill that you've already taught. So a lot of districts are being given the instruction, which I think is actually a good one, that we should be mostly doing review work. So this is a great opportunity to go back to some skills that you've taught that you feel like maybe your kids could use some more practice in. So one, choose a skills focus, absolutely the same. Two, create a progression, absolutely the same. Maybe you already have one, hopefully for that unit, use that. But make sure your kids have a copy or multiple copies, or they write their own copies or something. But we want to make sure that your kids have in front of them a progression that they can lean on. And this is another place where the scenario we're in right now is working really nicely with the work that we've been doing together in a novel approach in your units. Because the progressions are going to really help kids to have clarity and response and self-assessment and have a direction that they're going. So I really, really encourage you to lean on those progressions in this time as much as possible. The third thing that's going to stay the same is that we're going to curate strategies. So we want to make sure that we have really clear strategies for kids for how to do this work. Those strategies are going to be our mini lessons, our read aloud, all the same stuff. You know, I think the thing that we can add to this, if you've read DIY Literacy, Maggie Roberts and I's book, this is a great opportunity to make demonstration notebook pages for those strategies. There's going to be more on that later. Maggie and I are going to jump into that as soon as we get our life together and have some space to do some thinking. So that's all the same. Then the other thing that's the same is sort of the flow of the unit, right? It's just about what the timing is for you now in a distance learning context rather than an in-classroom context. So I'm still gonna teach the whole class text between some amount of weeks. I don't know what the answer to that is for you, but it's gonna be short-ish. I'm gonna do book clubs and independent reading for like some amount of weeks, maybe 2 to 4. I'm still going to be always writing about reading. I'm still going to be creating opportunities for kids to talk. So there's a lot that's going to stay exactly the same, I think, when we're distance learning the work in a novel approach as we did when we were all together in one room. Near learning. Is that a thing? Close learning? Close learning. I like it. Okay. So that's what's going to stay the same. There's some things we're going to have to change though, right? And mostly that's going to be what platforms we're using to make this work accessible to kids. And so the categories that I think we might need to think through is when we're in the whole class text, both our read alouds and our mini lessons, how are kids going to access them? Independent reading or book clubs, how are kids going to get response and how are they going to talk to each other? Writing about reading, and then any talk or discussion work we want. And basically we have to figure this out and choose. And I think the idea is maybe not to lock into one way, but try to be flexible and experiment a little bit and see what's going to work as best you can. I get that you could do all this work in a packet and send it home. And I want to say right now that of course you are going to have some work in packets. And like, I can't get down with my colleagues who are virulently anti-packet right now, because if I have 120 kids and I need to have some kind of thing back and forth, I might lean on that structure a little bit. I do think, though, that if all of my work is packet-based, I'm going to lose something really important. I'm going to lose a ton of engagement. I'm going to lose my kids. And I don't think that if this lasts for very long, I can afford to have the work be that removed from me and my connection to my students. So I highly encourage you to create hybrids and mixes and try things on and be flexible for when they aren't working and change it up. Here are some ideas. I think that when we're doing read alouds and mini lessons, we want to choose sort of what our platform is going to be and choose when we're going to try to have a live experience, which is just like we're all in it together. So if this wasn't a video, but we were actually in Google Meet or Hangout or Zoom, we're in it together, right? We can have a conversation. So there might be times that my read aloud or my mini lesson is live. And if it's live, I'm probably going to use Google Hangout or Zoom or something like that. The other option is that my read alouds and mini lessons are going to be like recorded, and that's going to be using something like this, what I'm doing now, just recording and uploading. But I'm probably then going to upload it to like either Google Drive and my kids can access it there, or I'm going to use one of those programs that creates like a bulletin board of stuff like Flipgrid, Padlet, something like that. So, it's a good time right now as things are getting mixed out to just try out some of these venues and see what works best for you. For independent reading, it's going to be the same kind of choices, right? It's not like a million different platforms and things I'm going to use. I just want to master a couple platforms and get comfortable with them and use them in lots of different purposes. So when I want to give kids live response or have like a discussion about something, we're going to probably do Hangout or Zoom. I also can pre-record. Kids' reactions can be pre-recorded and be uploaded to Drive or Flipgrid, etc. I also was working with a place that is having kids set up a Google Doc with other kids who are working on the same thing. And they're each just choosing a color and they're responding down a page or something like that. But they also can upload videos there, etc. The question is, when kids are independently reading or in book clubs, how are they going to share their responses to the text with us as the teacher, and how are they going to interact with each other? And so that's either going to be, again, creating a live scenario like Hangout or Zoom, or it's going to be them uploading content to Drive or Flipgrid or something like that. Okay. Last two are relatively easy. Writing about reading. They still need to write about their reading. In fact, this is going to be pretty important. If I want independent reading to be going, I need to have some sense of what they're doing. And so I need to choose either, am I going to create a space for them to put their writing about reading in, or are they going to upload the jots that they're already doing? So many of you are already having kids jot like 2 to 4 times, something like that per reading session. They could just keep that up, take a screenshot. It's not a screenshot though, it's just a photograph. Take a photograph and then upload it to either Padlet, Flipgrid, Drive, same list of platforms, right? I'm using the same things for different purposes. Or I'm going to create a space that's going to be that. So like a Google Doc, a Padlet just for them, etc. But it's going to be some kind of uploading scenario for writing about reading. Then talk and discussion. This is a little different because, of course, with talk and discussion, we need kids to have a space to do that. So this is going to have to probably be live. Like, kids could use Flipgrid to record videos and go back and forth, or if they can, if they're older, like an app called Marco Polo, and go back and forth with you included in it. That's a possibility. But I think that probably this stuff's going to go better if we're in a Hangout or a Zoom with breakout rooms scenario. So it's kind of figuring out which that's going to be. Hangout's going to be better for whole class discussion. Zoom with breakout rooms is going to be better for book clubs. If your community doesn't have access to that, though, then you could have kids kind of decide how they're going to be in contact with each other, keeping you in the loop, whether that's, again, Flipgrid, Marco Polo. They could have a Google Doc and do a written conversation down the page. But we'll want some way for our kids to talk. Okay, I want to do one more thing with you just to lay out a foundation of how this work could go, and then we will close our time. So the other thing is just thinking about a week and how a week could go. And obviously this is one iteration that some schools I'm working with are trying on. There are a lot of possibilities though. So please share what you're doing, make your own rhythm. But one thing that's making some sense to us is that it could be, if you take a 5-day cycle, I'm going to do Monday through Friday. I know some of you are, in block 1, but that's sort of meaningless now, isn't it? Finally, time and space make sense. If it's Monday through Friday, it could be that Monday is our read aloud day, and we're doing our whole class text or a short text. We're modeling the skills focus. We're modeling using the progression. And then again, we might have some combination of live and recorded read alouds. That then the next 3 days are going to be the same because I want to get some consistency in place, that I'll either live teach a mini lesson or record a mini lesson, and then the kids will read at some point during that day, do their annotations, and upload those annotations in some form to you and to their classmates. That'll be the rhythm that we create most of the time. One thing that came up with one school is that this is in addition to something else you'd like them to do. If you think, like, I'm a big fan of keeping it simple, but if there's other work that you really want the kids to do, if there's a specific question you really want them to respond to, they can do that as well. But I really want to hold on to the sense of we read mostly in reading workshop, right? Like, most of what I want my kids to do in the next few months is just keep reading. Just read. And that's why it's going to be really important that we have that combination. If you are in a school that has whole class novels and you're going to hold on to that, this is such an important time for kids to be independently reading as well. Whether that's at the same time as a whole class novel or, as a novel approach suggests, having that whole class novel time and then having kids choose a book that they want to read, that they can read with some ease, and read and try that skill again in the book that they've chosen. It's going to be harder if, when we come back together, which we will come back together, it's going to be harder if our kids haven't been reading during that time. If they haven't been responding to text in that time, it's going to feel like we have to start even more over than we're definitely inevitably going to have to reboot. So, Friday then, we were talking about maybe like a discussion day, a check-in day, that Friday is nice and loose. I know in my house with my 5-year-old, we've just decided today officially that it's going to be a 4-day teaching week, and then Friday is going to be more fun times. And I think that is a good model, even though we might have school on Friday. So Friday, one school is setting up just rounds of hangouts or Zoom meets with different classes where we can just meet, talk, how's it going, set goals, troubleshoot. If you have Zoom with breakout rooms, kids can get together and talk about their books or talk about what they're thinking, talk about what's going on for them a little bit, but it could just be a nice end to the week. Okay, I know that I just talked very quickly, but I wanted to get as much out there as possible as all of you are trying to set up plans that I could. Everything I've shown you here obviously is just kind of anecdotal work that I've been doing with a few districts. There are tons of possibilities inside of this. What I think matters most, first of all, is that we understand that this time is going to be messy, that things are not going to be perfect, that our kids are, that most of what the kids need is connection with other people right now. And so I want my teaching, I want my distance learning curriculum during these next few weeks or months to emphasize reading and connection. And I'm going to hold kids to a skills focus, and I'm going to have a progression. I'm going to have some mini lessons that I'd like the kids to practice. But at the end of the day, I want to work pretty hard at trying to get kids to be able to talk to each other, and definitely for them to be in touch with me. Okay, so that's my intro. I'm going to wait, post this, and I'd love for you to comment with questions, things that you're wondering about, etc. And I'm going to follow up probably Monday with another video that might be about connecting with kids and giving them more focused response. All right, best of luck, everybody. See you soon.